they impose charges on the client without waiting for the client to pay or without waiting for the client to receive. So you will suddenly find a bank charge appearing on your statement, right? So in those circumstances, the charge is there on the statement, but it doesn't exist in your system. So naturally, the two systems will not tally, your bank statement and your statement as per your accounts of the bank. So you need to do a reconciliation. So that reconciliation you can do two ways. One is manual reconciliation, one is automatic reconciliation. So when you do automatic reconciliation, system will check, what are the, and if it is manual, then you can choose them individually. So in the video, you will find that we have first created a bank branch and an account through the Excel sheet, and then we uploaded it into the system. After that, we created the bank transactions, like transferring money from one account to another account, from one bank account to another bank account. And we also did transactions, manual transactions, and then we did a reconciliation with the bank statement. We uploaded a bank statement using the Excel sheet, and then we did a reconciliation. So we did both. Summary of what we did in the last class. So is there any questions that you have from any session that we have discussed so far?
Do you need any setup for this cache management, or just use the existing setup from that other modules, or how it goes?
Yes. As far as setups are concerned, you will have some lookups, you will have some quick codes, that's it. But
Okay.
other than that, creating the bank, we have done it through in the practice itself. uh, and then entering transactions, those transactions will have certain lookups and stuff like that. And the other setup that you may have to do is for your bank statements. When you are importing your bank statement, there might be a requirement to do certain setups to align it as per the format that is specified by your bank, so that you can import those bank transactions. So for the bank transactions also, there is a spreadsheet using which you can import it.
Saurabh, I'm sharing one link what it was given to me during the time of training.
Mhm.
Just can we revisit that to to ensure that we have completed all the topics or all the.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I hope you can see.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So So we finished general ledger. Then we finished the payables.
Just can you go back to general ledger, please?
Yeah.
So we finished the value set, chart of accounts, segment, segment values. Okay. Yeah, you can scroll down.
So then we did payables.
What was the manage formats?
Manage formats is, those bank statement payment formats that have to be sent to the bank.
Did we cover this?
We looked at the setup.
Okay,
That's about it. Have a look. In case you have any questions, we can talk about it again. Not an issue.
sure,
If any of these points you find, you have some doubts or you are not sure, we can always revisit that if required.
sure, sir.
So our expenses is right now pending.
Okay, this we did. This we did.
Yes.
Table, yeah. Sorry.
So assets, receivables, these are the ones that remain.
Okay.
Okay. And we did this cash management.
So till what point we have completed now
I'll tell
for
you.
cash management?
Cash management, we have done the banks, branches, accounts. Okay. And we have looked at these, how we do those account reconciliation, bank statement, reconciliation rules. And then we did the creating the bank statement, generating the cash transactions, manual reconciliation, automatic reconciliation, cash to general ledger reconciliation. Okay. So this one we have covered the topics. So you people please have a look at the video. Okay, once you look at the video, if you have any questions, we can revisit this. What I will do is I will send you the Excel sheets that we have used for uploading. Okay, so that the data is there, you can use those spreadsheets. Intercompany also we have completed. Hi Amit,
Hi, Saurabh.
we are looking at the course outline that was there.
And we did reporting last week.
Hmm. So what we have left is the receivables, assets. Those two are the big ones that are left, and in between we might have a couple of things here and there, but I think more or less we are, and expenses. These three are the items that we have left. We haven't touched at all, and another one that we'll be covering is the tax portion. Okay, so we'll talk about the tax one, defining of taxes, fusion tax as it is called.
Probably after end of this session, Saurabh, you may have to revisit all the setups, how to start. Like, for example, or you can take one project as an example and you can start explaining the practical scenarios. How did you do setups and all? What are things, main things required?
Yeah, what we can do is, probably we can finish our topics and look into that.
Yes, yes, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, we can do that. So Amit, any questions from the last class? Okay, so in today's topic, what we'll do is, you all please go through that video also, see if there is anything. In case you have any questions, anything that you want to talk about regarding that, we can talk about it. Right now we'll go forward with the next topic, and then we can always revisit anything else that you're stuck with. If you are stuck with something, if you have a question about any particular thing, feel free to talk about it. Okay. In the meanwhile, in today's topic, we will be talking about how do we define the fusion tax. Okay. So when we talk about fusion tax, there are certain concepts that we need to understand before we get into the fusion tax. First of all, the first term that we have to understand is configuration owner. That is, which is the entity which is taxing the charges, which is charging the taxes, you can say. Okay, so whichever entity, for example, is it the legal entity, is it the business unit, which entity is charging, that is termed as the configuration owner. Okay, for example, you could have the you could have a legal entity itself charging the tax and depositing it with the government. Okay, so that's your configuration owner. In most cases, it is the company which is doing the tax setup and which is going to be doing the transactions, whether it is invoices or in payables or invoices in receivables. So those are the taxes that are being charged. Tax regime. Tax regime is the entity, is the government entity. In most cases, it is the government entity for whom you are charging the taxes, who controls the rules for charging the taxes. For example, in our case, we have the GST, right? The GST could be the tax regime. GST Council could be the tax regime, which is in charge of creating the different rules applicable to your taxes. Then what sort of taxes are being used? What tax? Is it a GST tax? Is it a sales tax? Is it a um, state tax? What sort of tax it is? Tax status, whether it is taxable, non-taxable, exempted, that's your tax status. Tax jurisdiction is the physical jurisdiction within which the tax is confined. Tax rates, what are the different applicable tax rates? Tax profile, and finally, we have the tax simulation. Tax simulation is a good, useful tool for you to see whether whatever you have charged, whatever you have set up through taxes, whether that is working as per your requirement or not. Okay. So once again, configuration owner is the company which is charging the tax. Tax regime is the government entity which controls the rules. Could be income tax, like in case of US, we call it the IRS. IRS controls the tax regime. So GST Council. Taxes. Taxes are the, what sort of taxes are applicable? Tax status. uh, Tax status is, whether it's what status or tax code or tax rate. Tax status is exempt, non-exempt, zero tax, those kind of things. Tax jurisdiction, physical, geographical jurisdiction of the tax, which state, which country. Tax rates, what are the tax rates applicable? 2%, 4%. Then we have the tax profile of the supplier. What sort of supplier or customer is he? Like in case of India, we have the MSME, or in case of US, we have the classifications, minority owned, or you know, exempted, and sort of things. What tax rules apply? What sort of tax reporting they have to do? All those things are part and parcel of the tax profile. And then tax simulation is the tool for evaluating your tax setup before you actually roll out your taxes. Clear? Now, let's take specific examples of what kind of tax setup we can do. In this, we have taken two examples: setup regime. Let's say in the case of US, we call it US sales tax. In India, the regime could be the GST. What are the taxes applicable? In case of US, we have state tax, county tax, city tax. So in case of India, we can have CGST, SGST, IGST. In terms of jurisdiction, we can say US, it could be the Maryland state tax, or the Montgomery county tax, or the German top city tax. So these are the state, county, city within the state of Maryland. Okay. In case of India, we can say the state-wise CGST is applicable. In India, IGST is applicable. Status: US, We can say standard or exempt. Okay. In case of India, we can either go by these different rates, or we can go by the standard exempt, and within standard we could have the standard rates that are applicable. Like in case of US, in case of rates, we can have a Maryland standard rate or a Maryland exempt rate. Within those, there will be different rates that are applicable. Any questions on this?
Saurabh, here income taxes are not written. TDS.
In income tax is in uh, payroll.
Okay.
Here it is more the transaction taxes, payables, receivables, those taxes are defined here.
Okay.
Okay. Now, uh, let's take a look into the system. Is there into the system about okay. For setting up our taxes, we will be going into the functional setup manager. Then we go to the financials offering. And these are the individual screens where you can do the different setup transactions. Okay. And with it, outside this, you also have this simulator, which is the place for you to come and define the or rather test out your setup. So we will now go and look at how we upload our taxes, the tax definition first, so that we can then try out the transactions. So again, for the same thing, like we did last time, we'll need to go and search out our spreadsheet. So define taxes for rapid implementation. Okay, so you can either look by tax or you can look by rapid also. And over here you will find manage tax regimes. Here they have implemented slightly different way of the spreadsheets. From any of these links you can download the spreadsheets here. Okay, so here you have the option of downloading tax configuration workbook, and then after you are done filling it up, you have to upload the tax configuration workbook back through the same link. Okay. So this is the workbook that comes on. Okay. And you will, as in other spreadsheets, you will first find the instruction spreadsheet. Okay. And there is a hidden manage tax regime worksheet also that has the spreadsheet. Okay. Which is the has the sample data which you can use. Then you need to fill up these individual tabs that you see here as per your definition. And if you right click, you can unhide the spreadsheets. Similarly, you can unhide it for, this was the tax regime. Okay. So that has the sample data, and you can also unhide the taxes. So that has all the different taxes. This is the sample data that is there. If you don't want to use this, you can delete it and create your own. Okay. For example, we can create our own tax regime for the specific country and delete this. Okay. So let's do that. And we will start with our own one. Let's say SP regime. Country is United States. Then when you come to this manage taxes, this tax regime will be available here. Okay. When you click on this, that list should come on. Okay. So what will I, if this doesn't work, go to the data validation. Okay. And this reference is missing. So this one picks up from the tax regime. Okay. So you could have a list and you can just drag it down so that three of them, if there are three, then you can select them all. So instead what you can do is from managed access, go to data validation. You can remove this also and point it to the tax regime. So you will get this in the drop down, choose that. So here we'll have tax as the country. So this is the sales tax that we are defining. At what level you are defining this? This is not mandatory. Geography type is where we'll be defining the country, and tax currency is USD. You see these ones with the asterisks, those are the mandatory ones. So we'll populate the mandatory ones and the ones that we need. And then you have whether it's recoverable or not. Recoverable is like your input credit and output credit, output tax and input tax. You get a credit for your input tax. Default place of supply. So we'll use ship to, ship to, use bill to if ship to is not found. So default is ship to. In case it is not there, we'll use the bill to. What is the tax registration? It is from the bill from party. Based on the bill that you are getting from the party, you are applying your taxes. Then we have the date. Rest of them are not mandatory. As per your need, you can define them. Here now this slides down, so you won't see it initially. Just scroll it up and then you can see the tax. This is the tax that we are defining. Oh, sorry. Yes. So this is the geography type, and name this will be United States because we are defining it for US. Then tax rate code is the next one, which is you need to define. So we'll say SP tax rate. This one we'll have to define without any space. Okay, so we have defined the rate 7%. So we defined the rate, taxes, tax regime. Okay, now after this, where's the button? Here we'll have to generate our CSV file. So this would be the tax configuration workbook. So since there's a previous one, I'll just remove that, rename it to 2. Now the next task is to upload it back. So we'll point it to the zip file. So here you have the monitor, upload, download processes. Let this run for a few minutes and then we can. So it completed with warning. So there's probably some issues here. Parent entity does not exist. So there's an issue with the parent entity validations. Tax rate. Tax rate.
Are we saying country or the country name here? So
Sorry?
in the column B, heading tax, are we giving the name of the country or the just the name? Not here. The second
This
column.
one.
No, the second column.
This one.
Column B.
Oh, column B. Yeah, no, this is basically this is coming from the list here. So that would be country. Uh, it is saying it is missing the parent tax regime. Parent entity does not exist. Probably this one. Tax jurisdiction. This one is without with the space, and this one I have used without. This is this is US regime. Okay. Tax regime. This is US tax. Regime country. Taxes country tax manage taxes. Okay, this one is US regime country US sales tax tax geography type is country tax currency conversion rate taxation source country standard country United States tax rate code tax rate 7 years. Seems to be fine. Again the same thing. Okay, I'll have to check this out, but in these cases, we'll also the other thing about this spreadsheet is in some of these cases, when the part of the spreadsheet gets loaded, so if you do a search, see, you can find these are getting created. Okay, but it fails in subsequent validations, since first one we did with space, that got created. Second one we created without the space, that also got created. Okay, so that's another thing. Another issue could be the dates that we have used, whether the dates we missed out any dates, because based on the dates, you know, when it tries to go and find something as of that date, it will not be able to find it. So let me just double check that date. So this is 1/1. That's good. There is no date here. No, date is there. That's also 1/1. This date is also 1/1. So date is not the other issue. We'll have to see. Okay. So this is one. This is the tax regime. So once inside the tax regime, you can see, you know, what is the authority: reporting tax authority, collecting tax authority, validation types, and configuration in terms of subscriptions, which parties are subscribing to it and things like that. You can set up here. The other, after the tax regime, we had looked at, if you close this, we have the taxes. So again, here you can search with SP and see if, so our country got created both the times when we created it, whether it is with the space or without the space. So the tax information, what is the tax precision, and what are the different rules, you know, that apply. Tax point, at what point are you going to allow manual tax lines? Okay, allow multiple jurisdictions. So these are all defaulted because we didn't set up any of these, right? And tax accounts, this is the place of supply, if there are any tax accounts, tax reporting codes, tax jurisdictions. Okay, and once this is done, we can look at the rates. So this is where it didn't get created. This is the one that did not get created, the tax rate. So the tax rate is the one that failed to get loaded. Okay, over here, if you look at the tax rate, this is the piece that failed. So one option here is we can come and manually create this, but the best option is always to go back to the correction and reload this entire thing. So for now, let me just create this for completing this particular one, but we should actually be doing it for the, so the tax regime in our case will be the SP. So we can use the one without the space or with the space. So let's say I want it without the space. Sorry, with the space. Then global taxation or global configuration owner. It is the SP. So we have the tax statuses here. Status. The standard that we had created. This is 1 1. We leave the default as it is. So standard one comes in. Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction. Here also this jurisdiction seems to be missing. So at least jurisdiction is not mandatory, so we can proceed with this for now. Tax rate code, we can specify the tax rate code here. So this is our tax rate that we are specifying, and it will be percentage. What type of transactions it will apply to, that is what has to be specified: order to cash, procure to pay, expenses. So whether it will apply to all of them or not. And once this is done, then we have the rate percentage. So 7%. And whether this will be default or not, we can say yes. and this would be the effective date. You can specify the January, 1st January date that we are using. Okay. So once this is done, we'll save and close this. So we can create multiple tax rates as per our requirement. So we'll again specify it to January. So now we have created our tax as well, the tax rate. Didn't have this. Okay, so our tax rate is now created. All right. So it's 9 o'clock. Do we stop here today and then continue in the next class?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Abhinash.
Okay. So please have a look, see if you are able to, proceed with this. And based on the another thing, if you let me know your email IDs, then I will email you the spreadsheets, or you can
Sir,
download and upload it also. Yeah,
sir, give your phone number. We can ping you our email IDs.
yeah, no problem. I will just put it. Please send me an SMS. I am not on WhatsApp.
Cool, no issue, no issue.
Yes, Santosh's email I have. Others,
Okay, sir. I'll log out.
okay.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you.
Sir, I forwarded my
Okay,
email
thank you.
ID.
Thank you.